Okay, so in our current political and media environment, we all have the opportunity to read any number of really dumb things. And I found one of those things today. It's potentially one of the dumbest things I've ever read. But it's also important and it's also dangerous. There is a conservative, I don't know what he's an Iowa-based talk show host named Steve. That's like 0 for 3. Conservative, Iowa, Steve. Good Lord. His last name is Deace, D-E-A-C-E. He published an op-ed today in the Conservative Review. It was entitled, "John Roberts Does Not Deserve Your Deference," referring to United States Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. He has called for the MAGA movement to break the courts to establish Republican dominance over government. So it's like, how many times during the campaign did we hear these Trump humpers squawking about the Constitution? We have to elect Donald Trump because he's going to restore the Constitution. He'll follow the Constitution. Never mind that he had just been convicted of 34 felonies and a federal judge had accurately described his prior conduct as consistent with rape, or that he was a fraudster that still owes the state of New York $600 million, or that his company was found guilty in late 2022 of 17 felonies, and that he tried to overturn the previous election, inciting violence at the Capitol, and that he had been indicted 91 times in 4 separate jurisdictions, including 32 or 38 felony counts of violating the Espionage Act. All of that is nitpicking. They support Donald Trump because he's going to restore the Constitution and he's going to follow the Constitution. A leading conservative called for the MAGA movement to break the courts to establish Republican dominance over governance. That is explicitly against the Constitution. That is a negation and nullification of the Constitution. So, yeah. In his op-ed, he castigated U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts for claiming that the judiciary was independent from other branches of government, while also insisting that the courts had the authority to strike down both legislation and executive actions. Checks and balances. Checks and balances. There you go. You got it. Yeah. Great work, Steve. He writes, so which is it? Are judges independent arbiters or unaccountable gods? They think Donald Trump is an unaccountable god. They want him to be a monarch. And curiously, Steve Deace endorsed Ted Cruz in the 2016 election and thought that the election of Donald Trump was an abomination, although immediately after Inauguration Day, he became a huge Trump supporter. Cool. Roberts may not understand what independent actually means, he added. How can the judiciary call itself independent when it relies entirely on the other two branches for its power? That's the way they work. The president can't pass laws. He's dependent upon the legislative branch to pass bills that he signs into law. See how that works? There you go. Wow. Judges don't appoint or confirm themselves. That's right. They're confirmed by the Senate after being appointed by the president. That's how the three branches work together. They can't enforce their own rulings or impose new policies. They act only through the political structures that created them. That's correct. He's writing all of this stuff as though it's like some kind of an abomination. This is how it's supposed to work. Deace argued that the judiciary was dependent on the other branches of government for their power and were designed, as Alexander Hamilton wrote, to possess neither force nor will. He called for Republican leaders to ignore court rulings that went against them. Again, just blatantly, flagrantly disregarding the Constitution, negating and nullifying the Constitution from someone who claims to love the Constitution. It just flies right over their head, man. It's completely lost on them. He goes on. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier shows exactly what's at stake. He's openly defying a federal judge's order on immigration. Good for him, I guess. So why hasn't anyone arrested him for contempt? I bet that's coming. Who would enforce the order? The U.S. Marshals? Not without Trump's okay. And see, that's where you run into the problem of Donald Trump having taken control of the Department of Justice, because that's not supposed to be a decision made by the president. Local sheriffs, only if Governor Ron DeSantis agrees. Thank God that fucker is term limited and can't run for re-election. His political career is over at the end of this term. He raised over $200 million for his presidential primary at the beginning of 2024, spent something like $170 million and didn't get a single primary vote. He dropped out before any of that stuff happened. It's easy to mix the two up. Ron DeSantis is a potato, a short potato with high heels. The Chief Justice is hoping Americans don't notice the limits of the court's authority, wrote Deese, who is an outspoken COVID-19 vaccine skeptic. He urged Robert Kennedy Jr. and his Make America Healthy Again movement to test those limits and openly defy them. Well, I mean, we've already stopped basically all medical research in the United States. RFK Jr. is pretty much telling people not to get their kids vaccinated. We have the largest measles outbreak in Texas in 30 years. I think we're on that road. Steve, douche. That political will must now be exercised boldly against both the judiciary and the emerging fractures inside the Make America Healthy Again movement. I don't care about the Make America Healthy Again movement. While it's true that MAGA wouldn't exist without MAHA, that's what they call, the movement faces internal risks just as dangerous as external enemies. If MAHA lets infighting fester, it will rot from the inside, just as Anthony Fauci's unchecked power eroded trust during COVID. These Gomers always forget that during the first year of the COVID pandemic, who did Anthony Fauci work for? President Donald Trump. It's just like, again, whoop, right over their heads. This guy wants the COVID vaccine pulled from the shelves. Pulling the COVID vaccine off the market would take guts. So will getting a Republican Congress to accept its mandate from the people rather than punting to unelected judges while cashing in on K Street. The next 100 days must restore order. Are we in a state of disorder right now? Are we in a state of disorder right now as a nation that's caused by anybody other than Donald Trump? The path forward looks clear. What's uncertain is whether we have the courage and the conviction to walk the talk. Were we made to be ruled by John Roberts and Anthony Fauci? These guys have a hard-on for Anthony Fauci 4 years later, man. It's fucking weird. Or will we step up and govern like citizens? Yes, governing is hard, but letting medical and judicial experts run our lives is far worse. I guarantee you that Steve Deese has had every single vaccine available at the time when he was a kid. I guarantee you that he was vaccinated to the hilt, and now he wants to take that away from everybody. What is wrong with these people?